Good.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Brett from Pallbearer. We have Brett Campbell from the Mighty Doom Legends Pallbearer calling us all the way over from the States. Welcome, Brett, to Inner Strength Check podcast. And yeah, just want to check in and see, first of all, how things are going with yourself and the band at the moment.
Pretty good. Yeah, we're just gearing up, getting ready for this next tour. We're
Mm.
gonna play like 2 weeks out to the West Coast before we fly to Australia, and we'll play in Australia, New Zealand, and then fly back to the States, and then tour back from the West Coast, taking a different route back home. So we're turning it into a month's journey.
Yeah, I saw your touring schedule while I was preparing for the interview, and I thought it is a pretty solid, consistent slog. I had to sort of double take when I looked at the tour schedule, and I was like, hang on a minute, but that is a lot of runner dates across two continents, so that's a pretty impressive feat. Yeah.
Yeah, would you get used to it?
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys are pretty well known as a band for being consistent with touring in the past. Like whenever you've had a run of dates, you've had a really decent solid run of dates. Um
Hmm.
how's the how have things been with regards to shows at the moment? Like how have you found the reception to say the new material from Mine Burns Alive?
Uh, very, it's been really good so far. You know, it's kind of a risk playing some of the more dynamic material from the new album because it's not all just like, you know, very intense metal,
Yeah.
So there's a little more ebb and flow. So, it's kind of a risk to playing that because you don't know
Mm.
if your audience wants just, riffs. But no, when we did our first tour for the new album, there were people in the crowd who were already like singing along to the new songs. So that was amazing.
Wow.
Uh, just you never know. You
Mm.
gotta you have to follow your own you know muse, I guess,
Yeah.
and create what you want, but you never know how people are gonna respond to it. And it seems like, especially in a live setting, people really understand what we're going for with the new material.
Mm, mm. And I guess on that note, so you mentioned, that there was a bit of a sense of risk. Did you feel that in the, as you guys have been adding more like dynamicism into your writing, did you have that kind of anxiety at the writing stage too? Like, I wonder how this is going to go down in a live setting in a room full of metalheads, sort of thing. Was there that kind of anxiety as well there?
Not anxiety exactly. Like, don't I think once we're really like hyped on something, like when because we Joe and I both write like a lot and just very
Mm,
often, but not everything is worthy, like there'll be some
mm,
cool ideas, but they don't go turn into songs for a reason. But
mm.
whenever you hit on something that is like quality, that is worth being expanded into a song, um if you're already starting off there, then it's good.
Yeah.
And like you just have to trust your own instincts on that kind of stuff and not really worry about what an imaginary person is going to say, because everybody's got vastly different opinions. Like,
Mm,
you know
mm.
you can't really worry about pleasing people too much, or else you'll just get frozen. You won't
Yeah.
ever be able to accomplish anything.
Mm, mm. And with that in mind, so you mentioned that you doing fair bit of songwriting with Joe, and that there has been a bit of a stylistic shift, but there is still that like core Paul Bearer sound. You could definitely tell it's you guys, obviously, on the live front and writing. Have your sort of yours and Joe's or the band's writing influences changed over time, like with material, or has it been a little bit more of a natural process?
No, our influences haven't really changed. It's just we've kind of take the focus and put them on different elements of our
Mm,
sound and our influences for each record.
mm,
And we want we've always wanted each of our albums to have its own distinct identity. So we
Yeah.
always have made it a point to not really like copy ourselves. Like each album should be different from the last in some way, but we always want it to still sound distinctly like Pallbearer. So
Mm.
that's also a challenge, but it's really rewarding because, you know, there'll be times where I'll be working on something and be like, sounds too much like something from X album,
Yeah.
and just like we've already done that. Like there's no point in,
Mm.
in copying what we've done before. But there's always elements that we're going to have. We'll always have, you know, guitar leads, probably. We're not,
Yeah.
we might put out our Saint Anger or something, no solos, but
I am so keen to hear Paul Bearer does Saint Anger. To be honest,
yeah,
that's something different.
it's the best
Yeah.
Metallica album. I mean, let's go.
Yeah. You could do Paul Bearer Load Reload. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, cool. And with the songwriting process itself, obviously you're handling guitar and vocal duties, and you mentioned Joe does some writing as well. Is it sort of, are you doing more of the kind of the lion's share of the overall writing, or is there actually a bit more of a mix between members, or how does it sort of roughly work out for you?
It's like almost exactly 50-50 between Joe and me, and
Mm,
has been since the beginning. Like we're both the principal songwriters in the band, and
mm,
like so we'll write like entire songs just on our own, and then bring them to the band, and then we always kind of you know change stuff around and rearrange, and but like almost always the initial burst of writing for any song is just he or me by ourselves. So
mm.
yeah, which is great because we have this very like synergistic approach
Yeah.
to our songwriting. Like the way it has always seemed for some reason magically that wherever we're headed, it always seems to be in the same direction, even without
Mm,
telling each other. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. But then there's also been times where Devin's written a few riffs over the course of all of our material and stuff, but he hasn't written any entire songs on that on yet.
mm,
He has written some songs that we've learned, but they didn't fit on the albums. So maybe they'll show up one day on something.
mm,
It's
mm.
good stuff.
Cool. Awesome. And how are you finding? So I think as well, you mentioned that you were kind of you felt like it was a bit of a risk playing the newer material, but that folks had been, you're going to shows and people are there, like, I mean, you've supported bands like Converge and Resin, and you've got Conan, freaking Coven, the caveman band that I love so much.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yet people are, there at your show belting out those melodic vocals. And I think from a listening perspective, for me, Mind Burns Alive has a very like psychological and emotional, like emotive lyrical theme. What sort of influenced, and for me, I think that might influence people like connecting with it and feeling like they need to sort of release it out. But it's a very thematically, it's a pretty like psychologically dark at times. Like, was there any particular influences for you on the lyrical side of things with Mind Burns Alive?
Well, speaking for the songs that I wrote, at least, yeah, I mean, it's drawn from relationships in my life with people in my circle, just people that I have been close to in my life. Um, so yeah, it's drawn from direct personal experience. Um, and then I guess with disease is more of just kind of my musings on the state of the world. I
Mm,
guess it's
yeah.
less directly interpersonal, I guess, and
Mm,
more of a macro view of things. But
mm,
and I know Joe's songs, at least from what I understand, were some of that was written during the kind of isolation period of
mm,
the that defined the entire like beginning of this decade. So I think some of that was drawn from that in some capacity. So
mm. Okay. Yeah. So I think a lot of music that has come out in the last few years, lyrically and songwriting wise, there has been, I think we've seen a bit more of an introspective shift, funnily enough, after we
Mm,
all got thrown inside and forced to stare at the walls.
yeah.
On that note, how's it felt, being, I guess, essentially, for lack of a better word, let out and back on the touring cycle since? Like, how have you
Uh,
found the past few years for touring after all
um,
that?
well, it was weird at first,
Mm,
just integrating into society was strange at first because
yeah.
it had just been me and my girlfriend, and that's the only person I interacted with. So
Mm,
I basically just lost my mind and
mm,
didn't know how to speak in a normal way. Like
yeah.
we're all only communicating with each other in like our weird like pigeon language that we'd created from just being the only two people talking to each other for years.
Very
Um,
similar to me. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that took a second, but like once we actually got back on the road, it felt pretty normal again because I mean it's just the same four guys, and once
Mm,
we are together in close proximity, it's the same dynamic that we've always had, and it just feels like you're just back on the bike again. It's like you don't forget. It just feels familiar immediately.
mm,
And at first, I think maybe the first big tour we did back was with Elder in Europe in 2022, and there were some like external factors that made that there were kind of a couple like hiccups or whatever, but
mm,
in terms of us and like what we were doing, um yeah, it felt the same, and I feel like it's just gotten more and more familiar the more we do it. Like
mm.
we're a little older, don't quite destroy our bodies quite like we used to, just a
Yeah,
little bit, like,
yeah,
but not totally.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like it's a nice balance between taking care of ourselves and having fun.
Mm,
So knowing how far to push it to not hate yourself for the next day or two,
yep.
that's the best thing you can learn to be on the road for like a month or 6 weeks or whatever. Like that's essential.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you get past about 25, if you're going to be up doing the rock and roll lifestyle when you've got to tour across two continents, I mean, the combination of jet lag and that, whew,
Oh God.
you,
Yeah, and but yeah, especially in Australia, because like you just don't like the way that our shows are set up on this one. We don't have any days off, so you have to fly every day.
yeah, I
So
saw that. Yeah,
if
you,
you party if you party all night, you just don't sleep,
mm,
which is
mm,
what happened the very first time we came to Australia. We were there for like 5 or 6 days, and I
mm.
like I slept maybe 10 hours that whole time.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
we were in our early 20s at that point, so
yeah.
it was possible. Now I think we'd probably just have to be like rolled into the ocean, just dead.
How did you find touring? Like, so you guys obviously have the tour coming up with Conan. How did you find being in Australia last time? Like, um, last couple, because you've toured Australia. Have you toured Australia more than once or
Twice.
twice? Yeah, yeah. How have you found touring over here?
It's great.
Mm,
Um, yeah, Australians are fun people to hang out with typically. I think a lot of great sense of humor abounds, I think, which is great for us. We like to joke around a lot. So, yeah, very friendly and welcoming and funny people. So, love it. And it's a
yeah.
beautiful place.
Yeah. Well, if you like banter, we'll give you the banter too.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. Do you have any particular favorite sort of memories from touring Australia or?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, last time we went down there, we had some days off between shows, so we got to do a little bit more. We went to like the koala
Ah,
reserve
yeah,
thing
the
that
koala
everybody goes
sanctuary.
to.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And we got to go to Perth, which we're unfortunately not going this time. Sorry, Perth. Uh, everyone's like, you come all the way here and you can't
Yeah.
come to Perth, we
Yeah.
couldn't get a show to work out.
Mm.
Next time, if there is a next time, who knows? With the way the states are going,
Yeah.
fucking knows. Oh God. But
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But it's always a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, a lot of koalas and mostly just hanging out is the best part. Just talking shit.
Awesome. Well, we're professionals at that, so we're
Yeah.
looking forward to. I mean, I'm going, and a lot of folks that I know are going to your shows, so we'll be there at your shows talking shit, and we'll bring our koalas along with us. So,
Hell yeah.
all
Can't you
right,
get
mate.
syphilis from those? It seems dangerous.
I think
I'll bring my own syphilis. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
okay. All right then.
Yeah.
Then we're good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys next month with Conan. It's going to be a ripper of a show. So jump on tickets, everyone, 'cause it's going to be a good time. And thanks again for the chat, Brett. And we'll see you then.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me on.
Yeah, you
Take it
too.
easy.
Have a good one, man. See you
Bye.
later.